Hello, hello, hello again, everybody. It is that time. We are back with another episode of the Third Banner Pod. I'm joined by Ty. I'm joined by Ross as well, and I am your host, Kyle. And usually, when you talk about a top 25 matchup between Louisville and Duke, everyone just assumes it would be basketball, but that is not the case for Saturday, gentlemen. We have a big game in football, and we are back in the race for an ACC championship game or potentially playing in that game. So, North Carolina losing against Virginia was big. It opened the door back up for us to have a chance. That being said, guys, how y'all been?
Man, I'm good. I just got done eating dinners a little bit ago and trying to hurry to get here. So doing good. How about you all?
Had a good week off, man. I missed Cardinals football though. I'm glad we're back on the gridiron, and I can't wait for the game Saturday. Um, Bye weeks suck, man. They just suck. Like, it's cool watching other teams and kind of scout around. If you're Michigan, you do a lot of scouting this time of week, but um, it's I just hate whenever we're on bye weeks. I'm glad we're getting back to the action.
Yeah. It's like I like a bye week so that guys can get healthy, but I hate it for us as fans, especially when it's not even basketball season yet and there's the bye. Although, basketball may or may not even be something you can look forward to during a bye. But that being said, it wasn't even a thing right now. Speaking of injuries and stuff, staying healthy, it's good to hear from. I know Ty Spalding from Louisville Rivals publisher Ty Spalding said that Jawar Jordan. It sounds like he is good to go and will go full bore on Saturday. So that's great news because that's something I know a lot of us were concerned about. Does suck that we lost Renato Brown for the year. And we had two bad. Between Jawar and Renato, those were both in warmups before the Pitt game. Stupid Pitt field. I'm sick and tired of it. It's just, I feel like the weather's the same every damn day in Pittsburgh, and our field sucks. And I guess I'm still a little bit mad. That we lost that game, but we move on and we still have a chance to compete in the ACC championship game. I think record-wise, we all would be take 6-1 before the year started. So that's where we sit. Speaking of tied rivals, we were just talking about how you broke the news about Jawar Jordan. Ty, welcome to the Third Banner Pod. Glad to see you back on. Awesome Lawson, Uncle Larry, good to see you. Aaron, Couch House, Chris, good to see you in here. Louisville Go Cards, Macro, good to see you in here. I give it a total of about, 15 minutes before you talk about a 4-star top 250 defensive tackle that we need. Jason, good to see you, man. So anyway, guys, let's get right into Duke, man. Like I said, top 25 matchup, Louisville and Duke in football, not basketball. And I tell you what, when I look at this matchup on paper, obviously Riley Leonard is a big part of, can Duke be their best? Are they going to be their best? Without him, they will not be. They are going to miss a big piece. But I'm going to assume Riley Leonard is going to play. I think he was testing it out against Florida State on the sideline, and I think they just let them out for the entire season. Like they were looking at the long game, but I think that starts with us. It's a big road game for them. They can still win the ACC. They're still in it because they have one ACC loss. The loss that they had against Notre Dame obviously does not count. So there's a lot at stake for both of these football teams. It's a huge game. And when I look at the two teams on paper, if Riley Leonard plays, I see a very even matchup. I am very impressed with Duke's defense. They are fundamentally sound. Elko has those guys rolling. They have a lot of experience. Their quarterback has a lot of moxie, and we can get into the backup and if he plays in a little bit. But I mean, it's going to be a tough game, and I think we play better at home. But guys, what do you all think? What are you all expecting on Saturday as far as this matchup goes?
Well, with Duke, defense and running the ball is the name of the game for them. So Duke is 113th in passing offense, which was, if you think about it, it's kind of weird knowing that they have such a talented quarterback in Riley Leonard, but they're not that great throwing the ball. But they're 18th in the country in rushing offense, and those two running backs, Jordan Waters and Jaquez Moore, they're studs, man. They can really run the rock. Moore had 110 yards and a touchdown against Florida State, and Florida State's defense is no joke. And then you talk about Duke's defense; they're one of the best. I believe they're 24th in total defense. Louisville's actually 25th. So, defensive wise, on paper, it looks like it's a really tough game for the offenses, right? But Duke's defense is it's legit. They got great corners on the outside. Talk about Chandler Rivers and Al Blades Jr. Blades is a transfer from Miami, and then you have Louisville royalty on the defensive line with RJ Oben. So it's that defense is legit.
That's
It's
Roman
gonna
Oben's. That's Roman
yes,
Owen's son, by the way.
yes,
Yep.
yes. So
Super Bowl
it's
winning
gonna
Roman
it's
Owen.
gonna be huge to have Jawar back. We're gonna have to run the ball, especially early. Hopefully, open up that passing game because their corners are legit, and we can't let them just kind of crowd the line. So, running the ball will be key. Get that going, and then hopefully Jack can have a bounce back game from that Pitt game, which we talked about it before. He was kind of put in a bad situation, having to throw so much, but that'll be key. Is if we get Jawar back and stay ahead of the chains, running the ball, and it'll open up the passing game.
That's actually what you just ended on there. That is actually what I'm very afraid of. With them being able to run the ball so well, I'm worried that if we start slow, that they're going to control time of possession.
Mm-hmm.
And we're such a an offense this year that really relies on big plays, and Duke's defense does not give up big plays. Like, they've been pretty excellent at that all year. You're going to be very hard pressed to try to get some big chunk plays, touchdown plays off of big, long passes downfield on
They're
that
so well
secondary.
coached. That
Yeah.
defense is so well coached.
So, I mean, I'm particularly worried because if that's the case, and like I said, we start slow, then you're looking at Jack. There's even more pressure on Jack with limited possessions. Like, you're gonna have to execute extremely well, and I just don't know if it gets to a situation like that Jack's gonna have the patience to do that. I know Jawar is supposed to be back. I'm curious to see in what capacity. I really do hope he's 100 because we could use him, but we'll see. I mean, this is the most nervous I've been in about a game going in this year. This is the most nervous I've been because I don't like the way the game matches up for us.
You know what's funny is usually when I'm really nervous, Ross, you're not. Like, you weren't nervous at all about Pitt. I was freaking out about Pitt.
Yeah.
And while I am nervous to the extent, like, Duke is a really good football team. They're very fundamentally sound. They are a great open field tackling football team. I've watched 3 of their games, and it's incredible how well coached and disciplined they are. I think they're like 24th in penalties, which isn't like super amazing, but it's in the top 25. But they just play sound football, and they're just very well coached. I mean, Mike Elko is a great coach from everything I've seen his first year and a half at Duke. But I don't know why, guys. And you guys, Chris, I know you're watching, man. You say I'm nervous about all these games. I think coming off of a bye week, after the way that we played against Pittsburgh, I think our boys are going to be like, and it's at home. I think our boys are going to be ready. Jack Plummer at home is Jekyll and Hyde. He's a completely different quarterback at home versus on the road. I think having to wait 2 weeks to play a football game after that disaster against Pittsburgh, I think if we had to turn around and play Duke right after that disappointing Pittsburgh game, I'd be really nervous. But I think the fact that these guys knew, Macro alluded to it earlier in his comments. He says something about, Or wait, yeah, it was macro. He said Louisville could have been talked about all over the national media these last 2 weeks. He's absolutely right. And I mean, that's probably not their motivation. But if you would have taken care of business against a team you should have beat, and that mainly goes for the coaching staff, because I don't think they put these guys in a great position to win that football game. And I think they would admit that. So I'm not really being a hater. I think the coaches would admit, like, we did not coach our best game. I think they're going to be motivated. The players are going to be motivated. Jack Plummer plays well at home. I don't know if Riley Leonard's going to play or not. I think that's a huge piece of it. I think he will. But is it going to be like Florida State where he hung in there for a while and the first big hit he takes, he goes back to the sideline? He's not fully healthy. We do know that.
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to Beelan, their backup quarterback, but I'm not
not
that
worried about
impressed so
him.
far with him.
Yeah.
So I think they have one hand tied behind their back if they have to rely on him.
Mhm.
But the caveat there is one caveat. Ron English, my man, you've coached a very good year, except every time you get an inexperienced quarterback, you don't bring pressure, which to me is the exact opposite of what you should do.
Mhm.
Because when started their quarterback, what was it, Trayvon Jackson or whatever his name was. No disrespect, I just can't remember. I think it's something Jackson.
Taven Jackson for IU.
Taven Jackson. Sorry, yeah. Taven Jackson
Good pull, Ty.
didn't bring any pressure. Then all of a sudden, here we are against Pitt's quarterback. Don't bring any pressure. First start ever in the pouring down rain, and we don't bring any pressure. We have to bring pressure if he's the guy. If he comes in the game, we got to bring pressure. Florida State didn't worry about it. They pinned their ears back, and he couldn't do anything against them. Now, I don't think our defense is as stout as Florida State's. I will give them that. But I think it's very good, and when we do bring pressure, we make a big difference. So that is my one caveat. We got to bring pressure if he comes in the game. Riley Leonard comes in the game, you got to bring some pressure as well. But he's a gamer, and he's a good leader. His quarterback stats this year aren't what they were last year's passing numbers, but I think a lot of that is due to some injuries. I just feel so much better about coming a rebound game right here at home in front of a raucous crowd, I hope.
And you talk about well, sorry, Kyle.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
If you're talking about Beelan, he was 1 of 6 for 7 yards. And I know he came in, that's a tough spot to come in on the road at Florida State in that environment, but 1 of 6 for 7 yards.
I mean, that game completely changed when he did come in.
Completely changed. It was, and Leonard wasn't exactly lighting the world on fire, but stats wise, but he was making throws to keep him in the game. He was getting some key third down conversions. And I remember when we were watching in the Discord, I made the comment, like, he had 2 throws in a row on third down that those are first round NFL talent throws. Like, they were just incredible. So the game completely changed when Beelan came in. His limited numbers on the year, it doesn't really give you a lot of confidence, I would think, if you're a Duke fan. Although I will say this, they did beat NC State 24-3, and Beelan went 4 of 12 for 107 yards. So they're, like I said earlier, their passing game is really, it's definitely not their strength, right? But with Leonard, it makes it at least respectable, where you have to respect it. Their game is all on the ground, and that's how they're going to get their offense. But I will say this in terms of the Pitt game. And you talked, Kyle, about coming off of the bye and having 2 weeks to kind of sit back and think about everything that happened. If you're Louisville, you have to, like, let that linger a little bit, like, realize the opportunity you lost, but you were gift wrapped, a real gift this weekend when North Carolina lost.
That's another part I forgot to mention. I'm glad you said that. That's another reason I think we're going to come back motivated, because one, you still have a chance to be in the ACC championship game.
There is.
But two, I'd be motivated because all you had to do was play your game against Pittsburgh, and I think you win that game, and you're in sole possession of controlling your own destiny, and you did not do it. So now, I have a feeling that's just going to be a game where it's like we have to come out like gangbusters. And I think Duke could be real. Duke is a really good football team. So what I'm saying when I predict we're going to come out and play one of our best games of the season, it's no disrespect to Duke. I think Duke is still going to play, they're still going to have their moments in this game. I think it's one of those situations where they might be reeling a little bit coming off of that loss, and we're just pissed, and we've had 2 weeks off. I'm hoping now you could have the 2-week hangover, and I hope that's not a thing under Coach Brohm. I really can't. I don't know what his record is coming out of buys from Purdue and Western
You almost stole
Kentucky.
my thunder. That's what I was getting ready to say next.
All right, we'll talk about that in a second, but I do want to allude to one thing. UVL 248. Kyle isn't nervous. We're doomed. Now, let me tell you something. I've been nervous 4 games this year, and one of them we played pretty well in and took over late and created some separation. But the other 3 games were really close. So if I'm not as nervous, it might be a good thing. I don't know. I've been pretty well on. I was nervous about Georgia Tech, and I mean, we know what happened there. And IU, I thought I was going to have to eat my words there, but then they're a horrible play at the goal line away from possibly winning that game because it would have went in overtime. And then, of course, the Pittsburgh game, we did end up losing. I just think there's a trap stew where you have all these ingredients against Pittsburgh. You had the weather. You had the hangover game coming off of Notre Dame. You had a backup quarterback we didn't scout for. You had the horrible field conditions. You had all kind of things that were mixed together. I think this is like the opposite of that. I think we got a concoction of ingredients here coming off of a bye week after a bad loss. Still have life. Motivated to get back out there. Had to sit around for 2 straight weeks and hear about woulda, coulda, shoulda that you didn't do. I think we're at home, and home Jack Plummer is Amazon Prime, whereas away Jack Plummer is Wish. So we're good. I feel good about it. And then Ross, what is Jeff Brom's record in bye weeks?
Like I said, I'd been nervous, and earlier today I looked up. I was able to find an article from last year that said Jeff Brohm coming off of bye weeks is 7-3. Now, on their bye week last year, they played Iowa, and I'm pretty sure it was at Purdue, and they lost. So Jeff's 7-4. It's still it's a respectable record, but
not one way or the other, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's not something you're like, you're just totally honestly, with me already being pessimistic, I was like, oh man, that's kind of, I don't know how to feel, but like it didn't really help me feel any better. What did the line start out this week on this game?
I don't know what it started out at. I know
it's 4 right now.
Currently 4.5 on FanDuel. I just checked 10 minutes before the show. So,
I mean, did I hear at one point it was like a touchdown?
That I don't know. I don't know what it started at.
Somebody in the chat knows.
Also with the line, it's going to be affected on, if Leonard plays or not. Like if Leonard plays, I could imagine that would get closer.
Yeah, and maybe that's the information that Vegas is getting. You know what I mean? So
I fully expect him out there.
For what it's worth, I saw on Twitter that some kind of like gambling experts and sports books are kind of waiting to see if they can get any info on Leonard before they truly go one way or another on a line.
Yeah,
Doc says the
line has not moved.
So, okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I start seeing it trending towards Duke, I'm actually going to feel that as we get closer to the game, I'm actually going to feel better because it means the money's coming in on Duke. So I would put my money the other way. That's just me personally. Mm-hmm. But if it starts moving towards us closer to game time, I don't know, man. Like I don't like that omen. That's just me personally. I'm no Vegas handicapper or anything, but I mean that's just, I don't like to bet with the public a lot of times. So
yeah, I really don't bet. The Vegas thing. I try not to base it off of anything they're doing, only because I base it off of, nobody knows this football team better than diehard fans. Now, if I'm looking at games that are not involving Louisville, I really look at Vegas and what they're seeing, but I don't have to. Honestly, I've always joked if I just bet on Louisville, I could probably make a lot of money. And I feel like I feel like normally I can. Normally I'm like, yeah, that's too big of a line, or that's too small of a line, or I'm betting the over for sure, or the under, whichever way it's going. And normally with Louisville, it's pretty on it because it's like, they don't know more about this team than we do. They just don't. Now they know more about all the other teams, but not this team. They know more about Duke, for example. But my big thing with Duke is their defense, and we have to have a fundamentally sound and disciplined game plan for what they bring to the table because they're not going to beat themselves. They aren't. I think we're going to have to force some turnovers. Which I know you always have to win the turnover battle. I don't mean that, obviously the team that wins the turnover battle has a much better chance of winning. But I do think, to allude, I don't remember which one of you two said it earlier, but they don't give up a lot of big plays. That's where getting turnovers and maybe, flipping the field is advantageous towards us. And I feel like at home, we have a better chance of doing that. But my goodness, if we come out there and the backup's out there and we go into rushing 3 guys, I'm gonna lose my mind. I will lose my mind.
Yes,
that same attention to detail that we had against the run against Notre Dame. Like, you remember when we played Notre Dame, seemingly when they ran the ball with Estime, we had everybody eyes in the backfield ready for it, looking to hit them. That same attention to detail, we're going to need that for this one because those running backs for Duke are studs, man. They're good.
Yeah, and honestly, we need one of our DBs to have like a real coming out game this game. Somebody that's really gonna, like, to me, I'm looking at somebody like Storm Duck. I would hope that he's on the field a lot more this week.
He might be. Brownlee is questionable last I saw.
So I see. I didn't even know that, but I would like to see us playing a lot of variations out of like a nickel kind of. So you're constantly putting more guys in the box, and you can kind of disguise. You can drop back into coverage. I think that Duke. I think that this is a game where Elko, I could see him actually trying to take more shots because he knows I think he has a good feel for this game, this particular matchup. And I think he knows he's going to have to throw the ball more, which is even more why I believe that Leonard's going to play, because they don't stand a chance of throwing the ball if the other kid's out there. Like, that's not going to happen. So,
and Ross, you mentioned Elko. I want to go to the chat real quick. We got Evan in here tonight. Evan's a good buddy of mine out of high school, and Evan is still wondering if Elko should have taken the points, taken the kick. We're still going back on that. If we should have taken the 3 or not.
It's hard. I know it's painful because I was the only one. I was in a corner all by myself in the live chat. I said he made the right decision, and I backed it up, and I said, here's why. So long story short, when Duke was down there at the 5-yard line against Florida State, they were up 3 points. And it was midway through the third quarter. Everybody's like, Evan was one that said kick it before they kicked it, or before they went for it, I should say. Mm-hmm. So I will give him credit. Half of that Discord, after they didn't get the 4th down conversion, was like, that was a horrible decision. And then one of them makes a poll after the fact. Like, everybody's going to pick.
I made the poll because I just wanted to troll. But
okay, you made the poll.
I was trolling.
So I was like the only one that was like, this is the right decision to go for it with a backup quarterback at the 5-yard line. And here was my thinking. They're not going to score any more points, was my thinking. Because if he can't score from the 5, he's not going to score from his own 25. When they kick it through the end zone, they score. And then the argument is, well, they could have went up 6 instead of 3. Well, yeah, and that assumes that FSU is not going to score another touchdown at all. They're going to score less than 6 points.
They went on to score a lot more.
But here's the thing. Yeah, and here's the thing. He could add a lot of positive momentum if he converts that 4th and go at the 5. That might give him more positive momentum, and they go up 2 possessions. They go up 10 points. And then Florida State may start to feel like they're reeling a little bit. Obviously, they didn't get it, but my argument is, okay, go ahead and kick the field goal and go up 6. You're not going to score again with that quarterback. You're not going to score. And they did not. And
they
that's
did
why I
not.
felt vindicated because they did not score a single point. And Florida State started drubbing them on offense. They ended up winning by 18 points. So
and that's the thing. Like, here's the thing. Like that's exactly why I said field goal, no field goal. Yeah, they could have kicked the field goal, gotten the points. It would not have mattered because
no.
Florida State.
Ross,
Florida
where were
State,
you in the chat? I was by myself.
They were Florida State had smelled blood, and they were coming, and they got going near the end of that third quarter and really took off. They knew that Duke had hit a wall, and they knew if they just kept going, they were going to win that game. And it was real obvious as you were watching it. Like,
and that's why he needed to go for it, because if they get that touchdown, it puts more pressure on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it gives that quarterback confidence.
I mean,
that field goal wasn't going to do anything.
The field goal didn't. It wouldn't have mattered. And honestly, even if they had scored a touchdown there, I don't even think it would have mattered. Like, Florida State was just they were so dialed in near the end of that, getting towards the end of that game, that they were just executing extremely well. It just, I don't think Duke had anything left in the tank to give Florida State. Florida State was just taking everything at that point. So I think Florida State was going to win that game regardless.
I think, like you mentioned earlier, Ross, the game was over when Leonard went out, unfortunately.
Jeff says we should be fine if it doesn't rain because we pass the ball a lot. Well, Jeff, as we've all unfortunately learned, we pass a lot when it does rain, 52 times to be exact. So I just hope we establish a run. I mean, that's going to be tough against Duke. They have very stout, very experienced defensive line. And they, like I said, they wrap up well. This is not going to be easy. Macro says, hit the like button to beat Duke. Yeah, if you want us to beat Duke, go ahead and hit that like button. If you want us to win,
ring those bells if you want us to win.
And if you want us to win by more than one possession, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And if you want us to go to the ACC championship game, how about you turn on that little bell and notifications?
If you don't ring the bell, we're not hitting the over.
You bring up a good point about the line and RO line play, and that, I think that's a good place to segue into the Renato Brown injury.
Ty just
probably looking. You're probably looking. Here's the thing: I like Renato Brown in the run game. He's somewhat of a liability in the passing game because he gets called for a lot of holds, and he does hold a lot. But it's really going to be up to guys like Austin Collins and John Paul Flores and those other guys that are in there to back up. We're going to have to. Some guys are going to have to step up. And they're going to have to play big games. That sounds just like Jeff. I mean, that's the type that he's like. You always got to have the next guy up ready to play. Go out there and do the job. Yeah, but that we got to have that. You cannot have a glaring hole in your interior line playing against a D line like Duke that they have. So we're going to have to be very stout. I would feel pretty good. I would feel good about running the ball a lot more, trying to pound it down their throats, so to speak, and let our O linemen go out there and kind of tee off a little bit. And then, going off of that momentum from the stadium, using that to try to pick your chances to hit the big play.
I feel good about Collins. Obviously, Renato Brown is very experienced, started for a long time now. I think he did a good job. I don't think there was a big drop off when he came in. Of course, the sample size isn't very big, but I know a lot of us have been high on Austin Collins as being a significant part of the rotation going forward anyway. So to see him get a chance, obviously Renato Brown, we'd love to have him out there, but he's not going to be out there. So Austin Collins, I have a lot of faith in him. Miller is the one I think's got to adjust better. And I think he's the one that's getting beat and giving up the most pressures on the team right now. And I think that's where and I hate to say it, like, it's not, I don't want to sound like I'm dogging any players here, but he's been the weakest link right now. And I'm more concerned about that right now because I actually did expect a little bit more. when we got that transfer, and he is a starter, obviously, but I kind of expected him to hold it down. I think he struggled a little bit. So I'm hoping that with a couple weeks off, he's been able to recuperate and come out there with invigorated and hopefully be able to improve some from the first 7 games. And Ty Spalding said Collins made a couple of huge blocks against Notre Dame. He actually took some of Renato's snaps in the second half of that game. Yeah, exactly. So I feel pretty good about him. And obviously, I hate that we just lost some depth, but I think Austin Collins is going to be ready. I'm not worried about him.
I will say though, I mean, when you don't have your normal guy next to you and you bring up, Miller's some of the struggles he's had in pass pro, not having a guy like Renato next to you can go one of two ways. You know what I mean? Like, I would be more inclined that he would play better when he has his normal guy on his left shoulder. You know what I mean? And
I certainly hope he doesn't play worse.
Well, I mean, it could, because if you and your guy next to you don't have the communication of like, oh, we're going to pick up who, when people are shooting gaps, and it could be worse. I don't know. I mean, well, I hope not. I really hope not. But I mean, it's one of those things you got to watch for. I mean, it's definitely it's an issue for sure.
This is where we need offensive line expert Trent Jesse and his expertise and his
where's
analysis.
Trent? He's usually in here.
Trent, where are you, man? We need you. We're halfway through the show. You're not here. What are you doing? He's probably he's cooking up some more trash NBA takes, I know. But
oh man. So I would like to talk about predictions for this game, get into that, what we think is going to happen. So I'll go ahead and like I said, I am very aware of how well coached Duke is, how disciplined they are, how experienced they are. They're also battle tested. They've had 3 big opponents in a row: Notre Dame, Clemson, and Florida State. That could be beneficial for them. Definitely, they're battle tested. It could also be something where they're starting to wear down some. I don't know. So that could go one way or the other, but they definitely are battle tested. So coming on the road to play Louisville, I don't think they're going to be intimidated. I also think us coming out after waiting 2 weeks to get back out on the field with our home crowd behind us, I think we're going to play sound football. I think Jack's going to be comfortable, even though Duke's defense is good. I don't think he's going to be turnover Jack, and I think that's the key. I don't think he's going to commit the turnovers that, for whatever reason, when he goes on the road, he can't seem to stop committing. I feel like he's going to protect the ball better. I like that Jawar Jordan's going to be out there. It sounds like he's going to go full bore. I don't think they would have him go full bore if they didn't think he was capable of doing it. So I think with an ACC championship on the line, we might see our best game on Saturday. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to win by as much as we won when we played Boston College, for example. But I am going to say that we are going to win this game 30-17. So a 2-possession game. And I don't think we're going to rack up a whole bunch of points because Duke is very sound. But I think we're going to do enough at home, maybe get a couple turnovers, get better field position on a couple of plays, maybe just get a couple of key plays to break open. I know they don't give a lot of big plays up, but I just think that we are going to be dialed in. And this is assuming that Leonard Riley starts for them. I'm going with 30-13. I feel really good if it's not Leonard Riley. I feel even better. But I wonder how much he's going to be a little bit limited. Obviously, him being out there is going to be better than having the backup out there, Beelan. But I think he's going to be a little bit limited just enough, and that's my final prediction: 30-13. Good guys.
Ross, you want to go ahead?
I'm still thinking.
Okay. Man, I just don't know, man. So we've gone over that Louisville's 4.5 favorites. Over unders 46.5. I haven't checked weather. I don't know what that looks like. I know we've kind of joked about it. We've
Weather
joked
looks
about
good.
it all week long in the Discord about weather.
Right, 30-17. I'm sorry. I said 30. I said 30-17. No, I said 30-13. 30-17.
30
Yeah.
to 17. Okay.
Yes.
Everybody clip it, ship it, write it down. 30 to 17. It all comes down to if Leonard plays. I think the two defenses are really, really good. Duke's is obviously great. I know all of us, we've kind of questioned our defense at times, but on paper, they're 25th in the country in total defense. I could see this being a defensive battle where both quarterbacks struggle and the running game will be key. I think it can be a low scoring game. I'm going to say good guys 24, Duke 17.
24-17.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do me a favor, Ty. Pull up Duke's red zone defense.
Red zone defense. Let me
Mhm.
see if that's a thing. I'll look for it while you're doing that.
So where I'm at, like I said, at the whole pod, I'm nervous. It's the most nervous I've been about any game this year. I lean towards where you're gonna win, but it's gonna be one of those ones that's gonna like. I mean, you're just gonna have like a lump in your throat the whole game. You know what I mean? Like you're just gonna be standing on pins and needles the whole time, biting your fingernails off, like just one of those games, you know. And the game's going to have, I think, a lot of ebbs and flows, not necessarily a lot of lead changes, but I think it's going to have a lot of changes in momentum. It's going to be very tightly contested. I know that our red zone defense has been pretty dang good this year, and seeing that we do have the better offense than Duke, I would lean towards that being something that we could be optimistic about.
You want your red zone defense?
Yeah.
So this is actually crazy. Duke is second in the country in red zone defense. You want to know who's fourth?
Us. Yeah. We were third. We were third going into the big game.
Notre Dame is third. So we're right up there with the big boys when it comes to red zone defense.
I mean, it's really going to be about who can execute when they get down there in the I like to call it the green zone, because that's where you make your money. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's where you win games. So I think whatever team executes the best down there with the opportunities they have is going to win this game. I don't think you're going to win this game off of big chunk plays and stuff like that. Like, I think that could help you get across it, but you're going to have to work your way down the field on these teams.
Against Pitt, I called it the brown zone.
You're going to have to cash in when you get down there, and whoever does that the most efficiently and takes advantage of that, it's going to win these games. So this is a game where, to me, if you have an opportunity to get Travelstead a kick early in this game, get it to him, get it out of the way. So if he is going to miss it, because I feel like every first kick he's had this year, he's missed it. But then after that, he don't miss anymore. So maybe I'm wrong on that, but to me, I want to get that first kick out of the way and get that one out of the way. Go get all the points that you can get. Like field goals, I believe can win this game. As stupid as that sounds. So, I mean, I would like to see us score some touchdowns, but I think field goals and points in general are going to be hard to come by in this game. So for me, I'm looking at like 24. No, I'll say 27-24. That's where I'm at.
Barn burner.
Yeah, like
it could very well be.
It's going to be one of those games, and like I said, the weather's looking like it's going to be good. So I think it's supposed to be 78, 80 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very low chance of rain right now. Of course, that can change in the next couple of days, but it doesn't look like the forecast leading up to Saturday, like there's a real high percentage of rain, and there doesn't look like there's a real high percentage of rain even a couple of days after Saturday. So hopefully we're good there. So that means that, to me, that I would say that would bring out a lot of fans. 70s, nice sun. I mean, people I think would be itching to get outside. It's been a pretty nice work week this week as far as the weather. I think people are going to want to get outside and enjoy
Yeah,
it.
it's a good day to
No,
not be at
totally.
work, or a good week to not be at work. Well, you call
Yeah,
it the
so-
greens. You call the red zone the green zone because that's where you make your money. But against Pittsburgh, I call it the brown zone because every time we got down there, we shit our pants. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's not the brown zone on Saturday. That's all I'm saying, because we need to cash in on these opportunities. That does make me a little nervous hearing that Duke is the best red zone defense in the country, because we have struggled. But those struggles, I will go back to say, those struggles are mainly on the road. I don't know what I mean. I understand everybody prefers playing on their home field, but my goodness, it seems like our offense really, really, really prospers when we're at home. And man, when we get on the road, it's just a different thing. So I'm hoping that remains in this game, at least remains the case. We've only got really one road game left at Miami.
Mhm.
So that's the good news there. And I just hope we can keep this home game momentum going.
Absolutely.
And of course, Macro in the comments did mention it. We should have gotten 2 4-star top 250 defensive tackle commits after the primetime Notre Dame win. So Macro never changed, man.
And
Never changed.
speaking of the comments, Ross, I made a face when you were talking, so I don't want you to think that I was like dismissing
missed-
anything you were saying. But Captain
missed it.
Hampton is talking about filling the tip of L&N Stadium. Can we elaborate on what exactly
I think he's talking
filling
about
the tip means?
I think he's talking about the top, like the pyramid thing.
Yeah, well, I'm
Well,
reading
not
the
pyramid,
comments.
but the point.
Well, I'm
The
reading the
Adidas,
comments, and
the
we
Adidas
are,
end zone.
yeah,
It's the bird's nest.
right. I don't think we're talking about the same tip, though, is what the comments section
No,
is
I
talking
think
about.
Captain Hampton's talking about how huge of a
But
tip people
yeah,
have.
right,
I
right.
don't,
Um,
Listen, Captain Hampton likes to drop euphemisms and stuff to get people talking. So
yeah,
well, it
he
worked.
he was talking about it today at work, actually. So I was
About his
I was
tip.
like, yeah,
Okay.
he was like, we
At
gotta
work?
we gotta
y'all
we
talk
What
gotta
kind of
about
job
tips?
you have? You male stripper?
He's like, you gotta fill the tip, Ross. I was like, what? And he's like, we
Pause.
gotta at the
Pause.
stadium.
Pause.
Is
And
that
then
like
we got
a mantra, like Louisville football? Fill the tip.
that's if we play on the CW again, that's going to be our.
Can we get a
slogan.
T-shirt that says that?
Listen, I'm going on record right now, though. I've been trying to get this slowly, organically started, but it's L&N Cardinal Stadium, right? And this is bourbon country. So can we start making our stadium the bourbon vault? Can we do that? Can we make it, for a while it was the oven, that was the kind of
Papa
like,
John.
yeah. I mean,
I
look,
like
it's
that.
it's the
oven.
bourbon vault, let's come to the vault.
I like that idea.
It's
Ross.
up to you it's up to you to cash in.
Yeah.
Come to the bourbon vault and fill the tip.
Yeah, fill the tip. Hey, and bring back the toy tiger.
Yeah, bourbon vault. That
the
sounds
toy
that's pretty
tiger.
catchy.
What the hell
Toy
is the toy tiger?
Oh, Ty, you youngling. See,
What is the toy tiger?
I was actually really young when a toy tiger went out of business, but
Oh,
I don't
man,
think a lot of people want to hear about the toy tiger. It was an old club.
I mean, I'm kind of in the part of the show where I want to hear about the toy tiger. Is that like Toys R Us?
Do you know where
It
the
was like
Thorntons
O'Malley.
is? Do you know where the Thorntons that's right next to the Rallies on Barstown Road?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, I live in Indiana, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, so it's an old like adult nightclub. They used to have lots of wet T-shirt contests, and it was like just a good place to really go drink and have a good time.
Feeling the tip.
I was just barely too young to experience it. It went out when I was in high school, so I think it's a couple more years I could have gotten in there. But funny story though, since we're on it, okay, I had a 7th grade English teacher, and one day it was like an open house, and one of the other kids in my class's dad noticed our teacher and then picked up on it that she was one that actively partake in the wet T-shirt contest regularly at the Toy Tiger. So that rumor made its way around school for a little while, and that was fun. But made you look at your teacher a little bit different way.
The
It's like-
more you know.
All right. Well,
So-
things I did not predict on a Louisville versus Duke football pod were that Ross would be talking about his T-shirt, his teacher in a wet T-shirt contest at the Toy Tiger that has no longer been in business for 20 years now. Anyway, yeah. So that being said, we did have ACC Media Day in basketball, and Ty, how much information did we find about Coach Kenny Payne Media Day and his response? Zero. Nothing.
That's a great question, Kyle.
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
That's a great
Yeah,
question.
I heard that. That's what he responds with, or responded with everything, which he does do that normally anyway. But the only thing I've seen recently, anything about basketball really, is that report from somebody about what was it they said about the shoot around last year that we had guys running into each other and nobody knew what was going on. I saw that, and it was just like people were, of course, arguing about that on Twitter. But I mean, here's where I'm at with basketball, man. I mean, and I think this is where you got to be. When he comes to the staff, obviously, we're all hoping for the best year we can have possible. No longer need to dwell on last year. Here's where I'm at with it. Louisville's ultimate goal is to be in the top 25 all the time, is to compete, at least I think, every 5 to 10 years for a national championship, and to be in the Final Four around every 5 to 7 years. That's the goal. At least that is to me. I don't think we're going to make the Final Four every year, and I don't think we're going to win a national championship every 3 to 5 years. I think that's very unrealistic, especially considering we've only won 3. But I don't think it's unrealistic to be in the top 25 consistently with our program's prestige and to be in the hunt for a national championship at least once every decade and make a Final Four every 5 to 7 years. I don't think for a program like Louisville, that's asking for very much. So is Kenny Payne the guy to do that? Everybody has to decide that for themselves. But I just see a lot of people lowering the standard because we haven't been as good lately. That's not the way you deal with not performing. Like, you keep the standard and you either meet it or you find someone that can. So hopefully that's Coach Kenny Payne. Hopefully he can prove some of my skepticism wrong, for example. But if it's not, I'm not fretting about it anymore because I'm hoping, and maybe I'm just ignorantly naive, but I think that that is the ultimate goal of the majority of this fan base. And I'm hoping the goal of our leadership along the lines of what I just said. Maybe there's a little bit of variance there within the Final Four national championship hunt. Like I said, for me, consistently in the top 25, every 5 to 7 years, we make a Final Four, and then we win a national champ and we compete and maybe make a national championship game, maybe win a national championship once in a decade. That's all I'm asking for. I don't think that's a whole lot for our program's history.
I don't think it is either. I mean, I definitely don't want to lower the standard by any means, especially I've talked about this a lot this offseason. There is not a greater time for a coach to be good at a quicker clip than it is right now with the way the transfer portal and your ability to play right away. There's no better time to be a coach that can turn around a program super fast now. You can change. You could already do it fast in basketball compared to football in years past. It was always been a lot quicker to turn around a basketball program than it is a football program. But in basketball now, I mean, it literally can just be 1 year. You have to go out and exploit. You have to go out and exploit the transfer portal. You have to. And I just don't. I'm with you. Like, I think we're all on board. Like, I want Kenny to be the dude, man. I do. But that notion there of where you haven't seen the real buy-in from the coaching staff to really go out and really kill it in the transfer portal yet. I mean, I give them credit. Like, the freshman class looks pretty dang good. They look a lot better than I thought they were even gonna be this year, just to be honest.
Yeah. After one game, but yeah.
It was Simmons, but I mean, it's just like if you go out and get portal players of even higher caliber that are on a national, you can completely change your team. Like your wins could go from 10 to 20 easy with two guys that are like highly sought after, that are big time prospects, that everybody's go out and win those. Like, I don't know what next year holds. I'm just going to sit and watch this year. But next year, I don't want to be here again talking about, well, we're trying to get players out. We missed on the players from the portal. I don't want to do that again. Like, you can win now. Kenny seems hell bent on not lowering the standard. That's something he's been extremely big on since he's been here. He's been about, this is Louisville. There's a tradition here, and it's up to us to, carry on that tradition. He's been very steadfast on that. So I give him a lot of credit for that. But we need to start seeing the results, and we'll get our next taste against a Kentucky Wesleyan. So I would like to see us. Again, it would be nice if we actually come out and shoot the ball at a decent clip from three again, like we did last game. That, like I said, I wasn't expecting that. So we'll see what happens.
I think that right there, Ross, when you talked about Kenny and standards, and like that's the most frustrating thing when it comes to this whole like debate, and the whole thing about our basketball program, as sadly as it is with our fan base, has just become two sides. And if you're not on either side, it's like a civil war. And I think it's the most frustrating. It's one of my most frustrating things about the staunch Kenny supporters is while Kenny, when he talks, has never once tried to, like, as far as I'm concerned, he hasn't tried to lower the standard. And he talks about it. His staunch supporters are constantly like, I just keep hearing excuse after excuse after excuse to lower the standard, and that's not what we do here. It's not.
Nope. That's how you lose your tradition, by doing that.
Right.
Correct.
And so I don't. That's one of the most frustrating things about this entire back and forth debate is the lowering of standards and what to expect here. I expect to make the tournament. I expect to compete in the ACC. I expect to win big games. I expect to make tournament runs. That doesn't necessarily mean championship every single year or Final Four every year, but I expect to do those things. And that doesn't change for any one coach. That's the exact same expectations I had of Rick Pitino. It's the same I had of Chris Mack. And it's the same I have of Kenny Payne. We all, and I know it doesn't look like it, but we all want Kenny Payne to work. We want this to work. It would be the best thing for us if it did work. But to this point, I have not seen enough to make me think that it will. And, he has this year, as far as I'm concerned, to show that. There's no more excuses. There's no more last year's team was this, and this. This is all of his players.
Yeah.
Even the guys that he inherited, like JJ Traynor, they've been under a year under his belt. That is his player now. Those are all his players. And that's how I feel if that was any other coach. That's how I felt with Chris Mack when he inherited Pitino guys. After the first year, that's your player if they're still on your team. So there's no more excuses. It's time to put up or shut up.
Yeah, and my thing is, like with the Civil War, for example, I've actually tried to immerse, because I was always skeptical of this hire, and I really tried to get on board, and it just seemed like every time I tried, more things would happen just to give me more doubt. So I do not consider myself on the side that thinks that automatically is banking on us turning this around. I hope we do. And because I hope we do, I actually immerse myself in a couple of pro Kenny Payne groups and actually converse with them at times on their, platforms. So there's a couple of different ones I've been kind of in and out of, and I hear what they say. And the biggest thing I get when I hear both sides is that neither one of them actually hear what the other side is saying. And that's the biggest problem I see, because I hear people on one side throw something out there, and I feel like they're arguing with themselves because they're not making the point that was made on the other side. A good example is when I heard one person on the side, like I said, I've been immersing myself in the more pro Kenny Payne culture, as far as He's a guy. There is nobody else that's a guy. So I want to hear what these people say. And they say people expect him to put a win-loss amount on there. No coach ever does that. And so they are just being ridiculous, and they're just trying to put him in a corner where he can't win. That's not true, because I'm one of the biggest proponents, and I caught some heat for it, saying that you have to have a minimum expectation. I do agree. And if you listen to what people like me are saying, most of us are saying the same thing. We're not saying you go up and say, we're going to win this exact amount of games, but you do set a bare minimum expectation. That way you all have a common objective and you all know what the expectation is. Because if you don't know what the expectation is, yeah, you can want to win every game, but there is no bare minimum. Rick Pitino said he always wanted to be in the top 25. Coach Pitino did. And he said he wanted to compete for Final Fours and national championships on a semi-regular basis. Jeff Brohm, Coach Brohm in football, said he wanted to compete this year for the ACC championship, and he wanted to win one. That was his goal. So don't give me that we can't. Don't give me that we can't set minimum expectations. Now, that may be, I don't know, it may not be what I said as a fan, but at least I know where your head's at, and at least the fan base knows where your head's at. That's kind of what I think a lot of fans are confused, is the ones that are skeptical. We're kind of lost on what he considers successful. I've heard him say, he knows about Louisville basketball. He knows what the tradition is. He knows what the expectation is, but then he never really gets down to nitty gritty. Like, how long do we think we're going to have to wait to see us at least get back to the bare minimum, which is like making the tournament, And I think that's where a guy like Ethan Moore kind of gets that. He's like, what are we doing? What is the main objective here this season? Like, what do we consider a successful season from a coaching perspective? Because if you ask fans, you're going to get all kind of different answers. I feel like most fans think a successful season would be making the tournament, but then you hear a lot of them that say going 500 would be significant enough improvement.
Absolutely not.
But the
Absolutely not.
But the thing is, I guess, what are the expectations that the coaching staff and players have? Like, what would be considered a failure of a season is a better way to word it. Even like, is not making the tournament a failure, or is not finishing above 500 a failure? Is not winning more than 10 games a failure, or winning less than 10 games? Is that a failure? Like, what is the minimum expectation? We can't just say, well, you just go out there and give it your all. And so that's just one example. I don't want to get too far on that tangent, but I just think a lot of these sides don't hear each other. And so I try to listen, and I do think they make some valid points as far as like, let's just move on from last year's players and last year's situation and at least give him a chance this year. And that's where I've kind of tried to be a little more open-minded, because I feel like I've been a little bit closed-minded about it, doubtful. But, I mean, it does no good to bring up next year now. We won our first exhibition game. We talked about it on the last pod. We won our first game. We did not win our first exhibition game last year. Yes, the competition was better last year, but the bottom line is we shouldn't have lost that game. And we didn't this year. And we didn't come close to losing. So that's all we can base this year off of. We started off with a big win, unlike last year. And that's where we go.
I'm going to throw here's the real ironic thing, right? You're talking about moving on from last year. And I think a lot of the people that really are all in and Kenny's corner talk about stop bringing up last year. And then Kenny goes out there today and says, no, I don't want to forget last year. I want that to sit there and marinate.
What's that even mean?
Which again goes back to the point of that's not the Louisville standard. Like, I honestly, to me, I know a lot of people kind of get aggravated. I think Kenny's been doing a really good job in this past month or so. Really, like, it sounds like a lot of the same stuff that he always says, but I feel like he's been getting some points across in these pressers that since he's been talking. There's been things that you can take away that are kind of, like stamping moments for the season. like he's kind of setting expectations, even though he's not putting a line on it, right? Like he is doing that. Like that's more than he did last year. So
right, and that's really what we want to see more of.
yeah,
And I was glad to see his last press conference after the win against Simmons. He didn't seem like he was content at all with the way they played, and he shouldn't have been, because despite the big win. But what I liked about his press conference was that he kept it basketball specific. I didn't hear anything about some self-help philosophy, some guidance counselor, psychology, pseudo babble. And I mean, that's my background, guys. So when I hear it and I hear it from a coach just talking about nothing but that related to his players last year and nothing about basketball, like breaking down the game itself, I didn't like that. So to hear him this season or after that game, everything he broke down was very basketball specific. I like that. So, that is where I'm keeping an open mind here.
Well, and that goes more in line with when people say we're a smart basketball fan base, and I think this goes for honestly a lot of Kentucky basketball fans as well. Like I think people in this state just know a lot about basketball and they have a lot invested in it, right? We're all used to hearing coaches talking like that, so we're used to hearing coaches going in and giving specifics about the game, particular plays, moments in the game, and that felt more comfortable, not only to us, but it felt more comfortable. Honestly, I felt like it felt comfortable to Kenny talking about that too. I think that makes him more endearing. I think it makes him look better in a lot of people's eyes. So, I mean, I want to keep seeing it. Like I'm one that like pays attention to what people are saying to the press. That's just me.
Yeah. So Couch House says Donovan Mitchell hit the game-winning three. Now, Couch House, answer this for me because I was not able to get that game tonight. I'm not happy about it after spending $100 on League Pass. Did he hit it at the buzzer or very close to the buzzer? Because Donovan has never had a game winner, like an official game winner. It's been dreadful watching him at the end of games try to take a game-winning shot. It's been absolutely woeful. The only time, I'm a huge Donovan stan, that's why I asked. The only time he tied it against San Antonio like 3 years ago, and it went in overtime, and then they ended up losing. And then he also had an overtime where he hit the free throw back in when he got the rebound. He had that happen last year when he had his 70-plus point game. So I'm just curious, did he hit it like within like 3 seconds? Because I've desperately wanted Donovan to hit a game winner forever. And it's not for a lack of trying because the man just keeps on shooting them.
Let's get our banners fixed over here. I don't know how to do it, but I have the clip if you want to watch. Let's go. There we go.
Oh.
Let me get it queued up here.
Donovan clip?
Yep.
All right, we're about to watch it. Now, is this on YouTube?
It's on X, so.
Oh, good. Well, we won't have the feds coming after us.
No feds.
All right, blow that up. How much time's left?
It's clinging to a 2-point lead.
It looks like about 16-ish seconds. How does this look on screen? I can't really.
It's not maximized.
You can't enlarge it?
I can.
Yeah. There you go.
Looks good.
They'll work it through Mitchell. Contact
Damn,
with
he
Johnson.
shoved the hell
Mitchell
out of
for
that
the
guy.
lead. Got him.
I mean,
Cavaliers up by 1.
that's supposed to be. I mean, it's not quite like 5 seconds.
They'll work it through Mitchell. Contact
So it
with
wasn't like a
Johnson.
buzzer beater, but like he doesn't hit a lot of these game winners like that. Usually it's a woeful shot. And I don't know if Patrick's in the chat right now, but he can allude to this because me and Patrick Kelly watch together a lot on the streams. And we're like, man, Donovan's going to shoot a game winner. It's going to be dreadful. And usually it is. So I love to see it. First game of the season. That's a good omen right there.
He had something to say at the end of that shot too. So must have been some shit talking going on.
Yeah.
See, I'm so mad. I put my money down on League Pass because last year I got all the games. And then they're like, hey, you can't watch because it's on Ballsack Sports, Ohio, and you don't get to watch it when it's on Ballsack Sports. I thought Ballsack Sports was done. I thought we were done with that.
You only get Ballsack Arizona.
I thought ball sack was bought out by CW. This brought to you by Green Arrow.
Bam.
Yeah, I thought it was done. And then all of a sudden they're like, no, you can't watch because it's on that channel. I'm like, fuck, man. So
Supernatural.
now I miss it, but I'm bummed. But I mean, I was on here anyway, so it wouldn't matter. But yeah, Couch House, we just watched it. He said no, it wasn't at the buzzer. Yeah, we just watched it on here, so
Hey,
but it was close. It was close.
Shout out Ash, she's in the chat. 31 days till we kick the shit out of Kentucky. There we go.
Ash has a ticker actually on his watch where he just looks at it and it has like the seconds, like hours, minutes, and seconds till we
Nice.
beat UK.
Or as
So.
Mike Tyson would say, nice.
Let's see. Robbie says contracts are still being negotiated. It pisses me off because I can't get CW in my local market. Well, it doesn't just piss you off, Robbie. It also pisses off every 13-year-old girl in your market that wants to watch Smallville.
Listen,
and F-Boy Island.
Robbie, I've been distraught that I can't watch F-Boy Island. I'm telling you, it's just the worst.
I don't even know what that is. I'm too old.
No, did you not see the last game? They kept advertising it on the Pittsburgh game.
Connor stars in it, actually, F-Boy Island.
Oh man, that was a good little jab. He's not even here.
I don't
yeah,
care.
I was gonna say, is he
anytime I could brag Connor,
he's not even on here.
I don't care.
Man.
Anytime I could get Connor, I'm doing
not
it.
even on here to defend himself. You just killed that man in his sleep.
Yep.
I
hope he wakes up to see it too.
Oh man. But yeah, Ross, F-Boy Island, they kept advertising that during our pick game. It was like
dude, that was something else.
Anyway, guys, you guys got anything else y'all want to talk about? I feel like we touched on most of the Louisville Duke matchup. If you weren't in here earlier, Trent, I saw you've been in here. I don't know if you're still in here. We did talk a lot about offensive linemen earlier, and Austin Collins starting for Renato Brown now, and just what we've seen out of Lions so far, what we need to see out of them against Duke. And we needed you, man. You are still in here. We needed you earlier, but feel free to go back and look and tell us what we were wrong about because you're the offensive line guru. That being said, guys, show up and show out for the Duke game.
I mean, we touched, we touched on the O-line, like you said. We touched on points. We touched on predictions. We touched on filling the tip.
Kenny Payne.
I mean,
Louisville
Green Arrow, CW.
We have touched them all.
We've touched, we touched it, man. I'm pretty sure everybody touched it too. So, got nothing else to say. It's been a good show.
My last few things I'll say, Trent, congratulations on getting married, man. I hope the wedding goes well.
Of course, I never changed the banner. I'm gonna change it now.
So, congratulations to you, Trent, in the chat. And the last thing I'll say is, guys, like and subscribe. We've talked about it before. Like and subscribe. Ring the bell. It's not going to mess up your YouTube algorithm, anything like that. It'll just let you know whenever our ugly faces are going live. That's all. So, and it helps us out. So just like and subscribe. All right.
Yeah. Congratulations, Trent. Last time we had a Discord wedding, we beat Notre Dame. So may the good luck continue. Go Cards.
Damn straight.
Go Cards.
Go Cards. Go Kroger, baby.